Sorry, apologies. I just thought I might plug something in and then that seemed to be difficult. Good evening. Good evening. Hello, hello, hello. I'll worry about that. I'll worry about it in a minute. Ooh, let me attempt to get comfortable. Good evening, hello, you're very welcome to join us here this evening. I hope you can hear me okay. Let me bring my mic in closer just to make sure of that, because I appreciate that. I don't like to close mic myself particularly, it just gets in the way, but sometimes people can't hear me. That's looking okay, levels are looking okay over there. I hope it's okay for you out there in Wonderland. So this is Molten Chat. My name is Robin. You're very welcome to join us this evening. The agenda is always the plan is to talk about potentially what was the content of the Molten Music Monthly news video log that I slap out there every month. And then we come together and we think about those sorts of things and then completely talk about absolutely everything else. That tends to be the way. If you're here for the first time, then open a beer, pour yourself a glass of wine or a soft drink, and join in. I'm always happy to answer questions. If you have a question about anything, anything in the Molten Monthly, anything about Modular or synths, or my opinion on anything you could possibly wish to ask, I'm more than happy to run on about it for a while. And otherwise, I will just sort of talk and chat and probably fiddle around with some of this stuff. I've got a couple of things that I could do this evening in order to make a little bit of music and that kind of stuff. We might spend an hour, we might spend two. I try to leave these things fairly open, really, depending on how engaged and excited we feel. I'm feeling quite hot, I have to say. That's why I've cracked open a basic beer, a Corona, which has been in the fridge, which is nice. So it's actually, oh, that's pretty good. That's pretty good. Oops. And so we'll start there. And I'll work out how to plug this in a minute. How are you doing anyway? Let's have a look, see what's in the chat. My microphone is at odds with me today. I hope that's going to be all right about there. What have we got? Keith, hi. Tonal Access, good to see you. Boshstick, Track Jack, Steve, a couple of Steves. Ken, how do get kittens from trying to eat your pork scratchings? Do you mean how do you not get them to? Don't know. I mean, there's that kind of interspecies. Are they that carnivorous that they would eat pigs, do you think? Apparently they are. Hey Jason, good to see you. Synchrotron, good to be here. You've got a new blade for your blender. That's good. We got a new coffee grinder. Very exciting. Apparently I do all sorts of things, but we're only really doing coffee beans in it. I'm not convinced it's as good as my previous one, but I sort of smashed the previous one up because I tend to do coffee beans in as much as I bash it around a lot like I'm some kind of barista, and so that just ends up breaking eventually, which is a shame. So we have a new one and I'm not sure that I like it yet, but we'll see how it goes. No lime. I've eaten that already. No, honestly, I don't have like a working bar in my house with those sorts of things going on. Hey! I'll call your Andy mate for a £5 anytime, no problem. I'll forget, mind. But hey, Grumpy Mule Beans. It's a hammerhead, usually, that we get from, I can't remember the company now, but we started off with their sort of mid-range and just gradually moved our way to their highest intensity bean, which is called Hammerhead, which is a great name, and we never go back, really. That's what you have to go with. Get on with it. Have you been here before? What sort of LFO, Steve? That does sound exciting. Hey Ken, did I say hello already? I think I did, yes. Hi Phobos over in Twitch land. Well done. Matt, good to see you. Woo. Very exciting. I'm sorry, I'm not really living up to the excitement of that's been pumped into the comments. I will try to up my energy, see if I can return some of this loveliness. Oh, you're all so lovely. Thank you. Thank you for coming along. Thanks for participating. Do I have anything? I don't have anything really cool to start off with. I mean, I was going to plug something in, as I say, and then I seem to fail to do that. I'm not quite understanding why. Why is that not quite working? But it probably will in a minute. I just need to think it through. Kent would like to talk about the 4MS meta. Trying to figure out what you can use it for. Eric, you got the round robin. What the one from? Thanks, Steve. The one from Magpie, Simon the Magpie. Fantastic. Is it good? Yeah. Made by his own fair hands, I imagine. Oh, I think he's got a factory. He's got a factory of people doing it for him. I'm sure he's got a whole bunch of slaves hidden away in his basement, soldering and putting stuff together. I wouldn't be at all surprised that he actually turns out to be an evil mastermind behind something. Nice. Synthfest. Oh, I've got photos coming through. Easy now, easy. So I've got a Synthfest. No, I can't make Synthfest this year, very sadly. For the first time since before COVID, when I started on all this nightmare journey of Modular and stuff. No, I can't make Synthfest. Got other commitments that I cannot change. So sadly, no Synthfest for me today. However, I have booked tickets to Brustronica, so I'm absolutely definitely going to that for the full weekend, I imagine. I haven't got any further with my plans other than booking tickets. So where to stay, what to do, that kind of stuff, don't know. But hey, I'm going to go and see what happens. Last time I went on the train, which was quite good fun. I wonder this time around. Yeah. I'll miss Synthfest indeed. It's a good time. I was going to talk about something. Oh yeah, the 4MS meta module. Yes. Now I've been thinking about this because I'm currently working on on a review of. Let me turn here for it. Lost it. Of the telepathy. Oops. The telepathy. The Dreadbox telepathy, which is this thing here. It's a full synth voice, and it's got me thinking because initially it's like with other modules like the Disting, like this, like there's a few other that don't spring to mind just now. Things that are like full synth voices, or more than what they appear, multi-leveled, multifaceted things. The interesting thing about this, I think, is what got me thinking was that I'm not loving the interface because you've got these layers and stuff all packed into a small space. I mean, this is like an entire synthesizer that should be this big packed into this sort of space. And what it got me thinking about was that this is not about what you do with the module on the fly. It's not about live performance tweaking and shenanigans. Not this particular module. And some of those other, as I say, big synth voice modules like the Oxy Instruments ones, the Choral, for instance, they all fall into sort of this different category where it's immediate sort of tweakability has been reduced, is much lessened because it has so much packed into it. But where it excels is being ready to go. And particularly if you're doing a live performance and you need different sounds, it gives you the opportunity to select those without having to dial it in across your entire modular. So this, for instance, what is fascinating about this, once you get behind the panel and can work out, oh, right, that does that and that does that and that does that, is that it has presets. So you find a sound, you mess around with it in your messing around time, you find sounds that you like and then you save those. And then in live performance, you can just pull up a completely different sound. And that is interesting. And that's why this, could be good. I mean, it's a weird, funny little module. And when you put it together in its pack of 6 to create a polyphonic module, it just gets weirder. But I think I've cracked in my head, got my head around why this is interesting, as opposed to just going, oh, well, the interface is just too hard to deal with and I'm never going to remember everything, which is true. But you don't have to remember everything because you work with it at the time, formulate your sounds, get a sort of sound right, and then save that. And all you have to do is come back to that and then play with the filter, which is all we do anyway. So you're not going to, I don't think with something like this, going to be creating a sound from scratch on it, because that's not what it's for, if you get what I'm saying. Now, the 4MS Meta, I imagine, is a similar deal. It's not there necessarily for you to build a patch while you're there. It's there to bring a patch, to bring a sound or a function into your Eurorack that then plays with everything else. So it becomes like a foundational source of something, either of massive amount of modulation or sequence or something. I mean, it could be the whole thing. You could just have that, but then that would make you think, well, why not just bring a laptop? Just have a laptop. Then it's then it's cool. It's all there. I think it only starts to make sense when you're bringing in a piece of your modular puzzle, which then feeds into everything else that you can adjust and can tweak. So perhaps it's a monster patch of modulation which you can just throw through everything. Maybe it's a sequence, and of course it's, I imagine, savable and swappable and things like that. So those sorts of things make sense. It doesn't make sense as in an analog situation, analog style rather situation, where you are planning on tweaking and crafting and finding sounds. You're never going to find a sound on the 4MS Meta, I don't think. But you can put together a sound and a patch and carry it with you within it. That sort of makes sense. I mean, I guess to some degree, all of these things, all these synth voices in a module mean that we can carry a smaller and smaller case and still have a wide selection of sounds. Is that fun? That's a whole other question, I think. It's not irrelevant, but it's not the key. It's not the defining factor, I don't think. I think fun can be had in lots of different places. You may find fun in putting together VCV rack patches. Maybe, maybe. But winding myself through those sorts of menu systems, that is not a place of joy for me personally. But we'll see. Ride in the Storm synth voice. Oh yeah, no, he's been talking about that for quite a while. Is that something that's now coming to pass? A ROM cartridge port, Ian. That's not far off, is it? It's a selectable sound source to some degree. I mean, it's more than that, because you get to spend your time. You don't get to spend your time in a ROM cartridge crafting those sounds in the first place. They come from some other clever wizard. But with this, that's absolutely what you can do. You can sit and craft sounds, and then take those sounds with you within the context of your modular. I mean, I think that's what makes it interesting. Perhaps. Oh yeah, the medieval the medieval teenage engineering thing. I meant to talk about it, funny enough, and then completely forgot about it. I just thought it was some kind of April Fool, some kind of jape. Is it important? I don't know. It kind of passed me by. I think it might be the coolest thing ever, but then, hey, why don't you just put those sorts of sounds in a sampler? Why? You know, a sampler is a tool. I don't think it has to be designed for a specific sort of music. I mean, the fact that they created a medieval version, I think, is just a bit of a jolly jape. Perhaps it's a way to get people to buy two, which again doesn't make any sense because it's only a paint job and a bunch of samples. You can put a sampler, you can put whatever samples in you like, make it sound however you wish. You know. So no, I was not particularly dazzled by that, which is why I forgot about it, I think. What are you talking about? Angelite, I haven't read it. Okay, you've got it's like a comment which is more than a line long. That's extraordinary. Let's have a look. If I'm not mistaken, I saw your videos a long time ago playing with Bitwig, yes. And then 6 years I decided to switch and wanted to remember the name of the goatee guy who uses Bitwig. Yeah, no, that was me. Yeah. I still use Bitwig whenever I mean, it's been a little while since I've done laptop stuff live. But I have tended to use Bitwig with that. Bitwig's got a little bit deep and complicated, and so I would very much like to do an updated review of the new version. There's just a lot to do in that. It takes a long time. So doing DAW reviews and stuff, I've tended to drop away from that a little bit. But when I do laptop stuff, which I do from time to time, I tend to be using Bitwig because it's very touch friendly and things like that. I mean, you've got to decide where you spend your time, haven't you? Is it more interesting to get to the bottom of a complex function within a DAW or complex functions within hardware? There's only so many hours in the day, you know. So yeah, no, I'm still a very big fan of Bitwig. I use it regularly. I do not fully comprehend all of its bits anymore because there's so much to it. But I have built some patches within the grid environment. So there you go. I've got that far with it at the very least. And I do appreciate, what was the new stuff they had in the new version that I really liked? I think it's automation in the mixer that they didn't have before. Something along those lines. Anyway, but yeah, that's me. Do you think the Behringer RS9 would be something you consider adding to the live rig? What is it? Is that the Eurorack version of the RD9? So it's essentially a drum machine with, you know, an 808 909 style drum machine within your Eurorack. Possibly. I've still never successfully cracked the percussive side of my Eurorack. It's always a fudge, always giving me trouble. I really quite liked what I was doing on the ground control, on the Endorphins ground control in that video I did about the Queen of Pentacles. I seem to be getting somewhere with that, but it did feel, I mean, I guess like the RS9 as well, it would be a very programmable situation. So you'd have to program these patterns in as opposed to going on the fly, which is what I prefer. It's just quite difficult to do. You can get beats and stuff going within your modular with all sorts of different things, whether it's PAMs or with particles or with triggers coming from the Turing or other bits and pieces. There's lots of ways of generating rhythms. It's more difficult to make those rhythms interact with what you're doing and change and evolve, or give you things like fills and then coming back. You know, that stuff takes a bit more work. And what worked well with the Queen of Pentacles was the ability to do rolls and muting and things like that, all within that combination of ground control and Queen of Pentacles. So would the RS9 do that sort of work within the one module? Possibly, quite possibly. Is that interesting? Possibly. It's not a very pretty module and it takes up a lot of space, but yeah, I mean, it definitely sorts out the drum machine situation, doesn't it? I mean, I really do like the 808 from System 80. I think that's a beautiful module, the way they put that together. As I say, this less so. It looks clunky to me. But hey, you don't know till you try, do you? Don't know till you try. So yeah, it could be. I have looked at the stuff from Flame. Yeah, in fact we had a good chat at Super Booth a few years ago, but I've never gotten around to making a proper connection and trying any of their stuff out. But yeah, there's some possibilities there. Yeah. Oh, you and your Leibniz system from Chaos. No, I mean I have been speaking to Chaos because I did the Batumi 2 video. That was quite cool. I really quite enjoyed that. So I think if there was a point at which I could have some space in my schedule, that would be an interesting thing to look at, because it is mysterious and it's like I don't really know what you're talking about, but I know that there's this intercommunication system it just seems terribly clever and intelligent and a little bit beyond my grasp at this time. I mean, I usually get too befuddled by their naming convention, let alone anything else. But beautiful modules. I really do like their stuff. I mean, the Batumi 2 is excellent, absolutely excellent, as the Batumi was before it. You know, it's solid stuff. So, yeah, I haven't looked at it. I would like to. It's on my list of things to look at. Have I tried the Bafako one eye roll? I have the kit over there. The kit's a little bit deep, so I do have one in kit form. I do plan to make it. Get out of it soon. Again, time pressures opening up. What the way things seem to be working at the moment is I get about a week and a half to make videos a month at the moment, and that's this week coming up. So this week, I was going to say this for the end, but I'll talk about it now as it's in my head. So this week I'm working on the telepathy, because I've got to give that back. The source distribution have lent me the 6-pack, and I've got to send it back this week. So I'm trying to get that finished. I did a lot of work on it on Friday, so I think I got under the skin of it. I just need to work, now that I understand the single module, I need to work that out into the bigger polyphony thing, and then make the video. So that's the plan for that. Then after that, I've promised myself I'm going to do the plasma voice from Game Changer Audio. So those two things are my plan for this week. If I can do those two, I'll be very happy. If I can do those two plus another one of my best of videos, I'll be overjoyed. If I could squeeze in one more video on something like a bit of DIY, because I have some DIY that'd be really great to do, which I haven't done for a little while, that would be extra special. So, and into that mix, I've got all the kids going back to school on Wednesday and Thursday, other things going on, busy. But that's my plan just at the moment. Keith says the RD9 is a good performance tool. What if you cram it up into Eurorack, it's going to lose the accessibility and its usefulness? Maybe so. I mean, I have an RD8 and thoroughly enjoyed that very much. But yeah, I mean, if you lose that size, the clunkiness of it, the clackiness, then I don't know. I don't know quite how I feel about that. Yeah, good point, Ian, about the positioning of the RS9, how that works. Oh, thanks for the hug. What happened to the Descartes Dream DIY? Well, it's sitting beautifully in its almost 98% finished case. And again, if I could find a little bit of time for that, I just need to iron out a couple of little problems with it, which seems silly, but psychologically in my head it's a big job, and so that's why some things are difficult for me at the moment. I'm trying to find things to work on which have a reasonable line of it would take a reasonable length of time to complete, actually get somewhere with. Two things which are open-ended get to be difficult. It's just purely I'm under a lot of time pressure at the moment, particularly with the summer holidays. That's been difficult. So I'm hoping things will open up a little bit over the next couple of months and give me a bit more space to do some more interesting things, like the Descartes Dream DIY, But I'm so phenomenally behind that I feel if I do have time, I need to get one of those things done that people are waiting for. Not you necessarily, but the people who have sent me things to look at. I need to look at the things that they've sent me. That seems rude not to. Know what I mean? But hey, we'll see. We'll see. Have I demagnetized the tape recorder yet? No, of course not. I haven't done anything with it at all. Was I educated in Norwich Cathedral School? No. Do I sound like I am or was? Or maybe you were. I don't know. Isn't that the place that you have to wear straw boaters? Is that you lot? Or do you have to be in the choir? I mean, I've heard the choir. The choir's extraordinary. Yeah, who has time? So having had a tape recorder that sat there, I mean, I think on pause now for about a year, would I need to demagnetize it? Is it somehow ruined, just sitting there not doing anything? I don't know. Yeah, I had like a residency at Norwich Cathedral, something called Soul Circus that we'd do every 2 months. Put on a big a weird alternative worship service there. Did that for like 3 or 4 years. So yeah, I'm familiar with the organ because he would bloody practice. He'd come in and practice the organ halfway through my setup. So I'd be setting up on a Sunday afternoon, and he'd flip in start up and he'd play for an hour. And it's like, I'm trying to get my beats done and my visuals synced, and I got this geezer on the organ making an awful, fabulous noise that I have to get everything ready before Evensong because we were on after Evensong. So yeah, no, I'm very familiar with the Norwich organ. Thank you. I didn't ever go up to play. I was too busy trying to get other stuff to work. Yeah, the micro rack. It does look interesting. Yeah, indeed. I didn't see it personally at Super Booth. Was I at Super Booth this year? No, I don't think I was. So that's probably why. But I remember seeing a video on it and thinking, could be. But then seeing the Kickstarter, they really have sort of explained it better and brought it together a bit more, though not explained it brilliantly, I have to say, because you're still going, what is in a kit? What do you get? Have they actually told us what's in a kit? But heck, I mean, it's been a success, which is really, really interesting. I think that's brilliant. I mean, you've still got to come up with, a few £100 for the kit, but you're getting, essentially a whole modular synthesizer. We seem to be chipping away at this idea of cheaper and cheaper modular in some form, and it's just interesting excuse me, at which point you lose the usability because of the sizing or the cutting down or the compromises. You know, it's a little bit with the Erica Synths DIY synth. It's great. It's a great thing to build. It's a great educational tool and everything else like that. But at the end of the day, you get a very, very basic synthesizer. And that just makes me wonder about all the effort and time you put in. But I mean, this is also the experience that you get when you start in Modular. You seem to put in a lot of money and a lot of thought and buy a few modules just to get a very basic beep out the other side. And it takes a bit of work to get it to start sounding more interesting and starting to open up, and then you understand how you can start experimenting with it. But to start with, it tends to be a very basic, low reward for a lot of investment. So it'll be interesting to see how this sounds and how well it interacts with Eurorack. And it also, it makes me think about building my own modules again, and whether that's a viable plan. Do I think I have the skills for that? I don't know. Quadraphonic. Yeah. Well, you're very welcome, the Smart Hedonist. I didn't make a big fuss, particularly about the live stream, I have to say. Sorry about that. I did mention it in my Molten Monthly, of course, which I expect you to watch to the absolute end. Every moment when I might pop in there about a live stream. But yeah, I didn't get around to posting the link to the YouTube until like late this afternoon. I do have the breadboard thingy from Erica. Yes, Ken, you're right. I have not got any further than looking in the box. Yeah, I must do that. Again, time. I've got to prioritize. I mean, one of the tragedies. Why can't I say that word? One of the tragedies of being in my position and being a bit too busy is that you get the opportunity to play on something which is new or pre-release or something like that, which is great, and it sits there on your desk and it sits there and it's like, I'd really like to have a go at that, but I can't. Got to do this. And then a flipping review turns up in Sound on Sound. You go, oh no, I thought I was going to be the first one ever to talk about this, or a bunch of videos comes out on it, and it's like, missing that opportunity. Like that just happened with the Cycle Instruments tetrachords. Yeah, fascinating sequencer. It just needs a bit of time, and again, I can't quite wrap my head around giving it time at the moment. But it looks really interesting, and I feel like I've missed the window on it. But I have to not think about that, because windows are an illusion. Being first is an illusion. What's important is that I must be first. No. What's important is that I give something time and my own honest and authentic view on something. That's actually what's important, not whether I get there first or in time or anything. At least that's what I have to tell myself, because I can't physically do it. It's impossible. It's impossible to fit it all in. But hey, I'll turn this on in a minute, and I will be able to show you three things which might be useful. Gonna finish my beer first. I should mention, so I'm just going to check this. Somebody sent me a message. No, completely unrelated, but it's reminded me, thanks Barry, that I believe there is an EMOM this week Thursday in the Rumsey Wells in Norwich. I think at the moment I have a 45% chance of going. I'd like to go because I haven't been for a little while, and I'd very much like to put myself through the process of performing. I'm just trying to think what's happening Thursday that would prevent it from occurring. Don't know. Again, probably just time, because I can't just take a case because they're not necessarily in a performable state. Although I could just make it up. I mean, as long as it's got a sound source in, is that fun for people? I don't know, but we'll see. We'll see. I'll think about it. But anyway, if you're into that, if you're into that kind of thing, this Thursday, probably from 7:30, I should think, 7 o'clock, 7:30. The EMOM, the Norwich EMOM in the Rumsey Wells, which is, on that road opposite the thing, just down the road from What's It, and up, from there on the left as you come up past yeah, cool. Yeah, good to see your file transfer protocol. Thank you very much for your support on Patreon. That's much appreciated, honestly. And yeah, the quality of review means more than anything. It's a really good comment. I think that's important. One has to, as a reviewer, one has to find a balance between the amount of work you put in and the time, and I don't know, what is the balance? just got to decide when it's good enough, I think, and that could be tricky. But I try to put in as much as I can. I try to understand a thing, or at least talk about the possibility of understanding it, in hoping to reflect a user experience of a thing rather than a lofty level of expertise on something. I find it much more interesting to talk about bumbling through the reality of somebody's user interface, in the hope that you find the pathway through, and that being helpful in other people finding their way in as well. Because I'm always have to remind myself that being a reviewer is different to being a user, because I'm looking for specific things and looking to. On the flip side of that, I'm not looking to do a particular thing. I'm not actually looking to use it or integrate it into my case. I'm looking to examine what it does in order to provide good information to people. And that's a very different experience. And so I often hear from people who are using a thing and either find that experience far different to how I'm seeing it, but because they're further down the road with it. And that's interesting, Sometimes when you're reviewing something that no one has used yet, you're kind of left in this slight limbo because you're wondering how people would actually use it within a musical context. And that's not always an easy place to find as a reviewer, There you go. Oh, deep. That's a bit deep, isn't it? But interesting. It's good to remind yourself of these things. For me, to remind myself that I'm in a slightly unreal situation. So what you have to focus on is hopefully opening up a module to the point where other people can use it and run with it much easier than they did before they saw the video. Do you see what I mean? So they can have better expectations of what that module can do, even if I've not really provided all the information on absolutely everything it can accomplish. Oh, yeah. Chewing on this now. Thoughts on Synth East 3? Thanks, I appreciate that. Synth East 3, yes, no, we are in full flow. We've made most of our decisions just before the summer, and there's just a few things working out. We've kind of got to get through the summer season. Really, people are away, and we're going to probably get together again in September and sort of firm things up. So we're in the process of booking acts for the Saturday night, working out what the heck we're doing on that Friday night. I can't remember now, but it was fabulous. I need to sort out who on earth is going to be doing the All-Star patch off, so that's interesting. But I believe, all being well, I think tentatively, Steve Davis and Gaz have both said they'd love to come back again, so that's good. That's my bedrock. But then I'm going to need three new people to do the patch off. The idea of it being all-star is that those people will be, you know, glamorous celebrities, as opposed to just any old bod. Now, of course, it's lovely for any old bod to play. That's fine, yes. But, you know, ideally, we're looking for it to be people that you'd quite like to see. So in previous years, we've had Look Mum No Computer, we've had Lulu York, we've had Milo Melodies, Nina Richards. Those are people we've had in the past. Why did I only need... Oh, we had Jason, of course. We had Jason and we had Andrew. Oh, most importantly, as well. So, yeah, so I'm going to be needing to sort of try to work that out. It's a difficult ask. It's a really difficult ask because it's not a paid gig or anything. It's a, hey, come to this festival and get involved in this jam with like us other cool people for like 15 minutes, and it's an improvised jam with another person in front of an audience. It's a load of fun. I'll stick you up in a house and make you breakfast. That's about it. That's as paid as it gets. And that's difficult because the sort of people that I would love to fill this role are the sort of people who really should be paid for things, you know. And that's absolutely fair enough, completely fair enough. So it's an odd space that we're trying to fill, but it's also very joyful and fun and stuff. It worked really well with Nina Richards last year because obviously she's part of Transistor Labs and could have a table, and so I was able to reward them, you know, with a free table to show their stuff, and so that sort of worked out. So I am considering other people who work for modular companies, because that does make that a little bit easier. It becomes, you know, you're already there, why don't you come and do this? But as I say, it's difficult. I wish I had a bit more of a budget for it, but it's not. I don't know. It's just the level of where we're at with Synth East. It's just not. It's not quite at that point yet. The evening is something different. We do have a budget for the evening, but this is supposed to be a sort of fun community thing that, I don't know. You kind of know what I'm saying. I don't want to just book someone. I want someone to come because they think it's awesome. Do you know what I mean? Dots. Steve, now there's a thought. Get Nick from Doors. It's supposed to be in February. Yes, it is. Oh, good for you. Thank you, Jason. Yeah, I'm still working out the details. Oh, right. Sorry, just rewinding now through some other questions, because there's some good questions here. Yeah, file transfer person. Yeah, that is sort of right. Yes. It's a bit more. Yeah, I mean, I've written for a long time. I used to write for Computer Music Magazine, Future Music sometimes, and Sound on Sound back in, like, reviewing Windows 8 and bits and pieces. So yeah, a long time ago. So yeah, there is. Yeah, definitely. I've always approached it in that way. Yeah, yeah. So the lending library, is it shelved? It's at the moment it's shelved because I don't have the money to put into it. I did look into getting some cases built. Well, there's a couple of things around that. I've no shortage of ideas. The lending library originally was just the idea of being able to lend out single modules, and I gave that a lot of thought in how to make that happen, how to make it pay for itself, while making it very, very accessible. And it requires a lot more thought, I think. And then that developed into this idea of, rather than lending individual modules, of lending a few modules in a little case, so a self-contained unit. So you could lend it to somebody who could actually use it by itself as well as plug it into other things. And that was a better idea, I think, because it feels like you've got a working system. It feels like something that would market itself better, because it could be sort of branded, and then when it ends up in videos, people would see it, and that would generally help. And I think that would be a better idea. So I'm still looking into that, but I want to sort of build the cases and stuff like that, and I just don't have the money to put into it at the moment. We're sort of flying on fumes, just trying to keep ourselves going at the moment. So so I can't do any more with that at the minute, but it's still a good idea, and I still hope to do it as soon as I can. As soon as things, get a little bit easier, then yeah, I'd definitely like to do that. I think it's a solid idea. It's just just got to work out how do you. There's some things you just have to do just to see what happens, and other things you have to work out beforehand. And this is a little bit of a working out beforehand. Otherwise, I'm just throwing stuff away, which would be a shame. But I certainly have. Yeah, it's certainly a good idea. See, it got me thinking again now. Anyway. What was that? Dots. Yeah. Okay. Could be. Oh, is that what Nick from Doors means? Do you mean from Dots? Yeah, Nicky, would you be up for that? That would make for a. That could be interesting. You only do drones. You got to be able to improvise with people. I mean, heck, you can put your drones on and let the other person play around it. That's a valid form of improvisation. Hey Twitchland, thanks for tuning in. What URAC module do you think has the easiest interface to use? I would say the Molten motion meter, without a doubt. It's 3 knobs. You turn it, lights come on. It's beautiful. It's beautiful. You flick a switch, lights come on in the other direction. Oh. Flick another switch, and it's like a rainbow. It's just amazing. I think you might need to be. I would suggest you need to be a little bit more specific, because there are lots and lots of URAC modules which are easy to use. What in particular do you mean? Do you mean an oscillator? Do you mean a modulator? Do you mean a filter? Narrow it down a little bit for me, because it's a little bit too much of an open question. Library compilation albums could be an offshoot. Absolutely, Ken. Absolutely. There's so many good things that could happen from having a bunch of little modulars that we could send out into the world that travel, that get stuck in little videos and Instagrams that people enjoy and play with for a bit, and then send on to the next person. It's a beautiful idea. It's like a book club, right? But with modular. That's the idea. It's wonderful. Just needs a little bit of a start. That's all. Yeah, I mean, I think it's the sort of thing that once it's set up. I mean, I've got plenty of modular. It's not a case of having modules to put in the case. I have ton. I could fill, a dozen little 40 HP cases, no problem, with different interesting, ideas and things put in them. So that is not the problem. It's purely just, Lavendale at Schroeder Machiners, Schreiber Machiners, I never say it right, at the typewriter place, right? She was going to build the cases. I've asked her to build the cases for me, but we're kind of in this position where I need to give her some money to do that. I can't just expect her to come up with a load of stuff for free. But we have the idea. The idea is there. It just needs to be taken to the next stage. So it's all good. It just needs, like I say, a little bit of time and a little bit of finance, and hopefully those sorts of things will be forthcoming in time. I'm still balancing my way through these things at the minute. But yeah, compilation albums is a great idea. There's so much loveliness that could come out of this that I think is a good idea. A good idea. No, somebody else asked about the one-eye roll, the one-eye roll, as I call it. I have a kit version. I need to build the kit, so I haven't had a go yet. It looks really good though. I've heard nothing but great things about it. Peter, that sounds great. I mean, there's this. One of the things that inspired me was there's a New York synth library where they just give stuff to people, which is brilliant. And I mean, I thought, because I mean, ideally the whole thing should be free, right? It should absolutely be free, like a library. Now, the difficulty with that is that I live in the back of beyond, because you need to be able to do that sort of thing in person. And in New York, you have a gazillion people living in a very small space. And so the chances are you're going to find people who want to come and do that within that space, who will come, and you can personally say, hi, here's the thing you're going to borrow. That's great. I've got all your details. I know everything about you. And that can work. It's more difficult to do that via the post, via couriers, because first of all, there's costs involved in sending stuff out. There's no cost involved in someone coming to get something and going away with it. So while I'm inspired by the New York Synth Library, I don't think I can replicate it. I mean, I was thinking, well, maybe I could do like a day in Cambridge, somewhere a bit more central that everyone could come to. But then again, it's still a long way to come. Could be for some people, and you're sort of waiting all day for everything to come back so you can then lend it out again. So it has to work within a let's send a box to people way. So like I say, like a book club, I don't know if you're familiar with that kind of thing, is that you have, say, a dozen people, let's say 6 people, let's say 2 lots of 6 people. Let's go with 6 people that I send a modular system to. And then every 2 months, say, so I don't think a month is necessarily long enough, every 2 months or every 6 to 8 weeks, they then send it on to the next person. And they, so within that, there has to be the ability to pay for courier services and make sure that it's packaged well. There's a possibility of damage. All these sorts of things come into play. And then, my time and energy and all the stuff put into that as well. How do I manage that? Is that going to be a chargeable factor? Is it essentially a subscription service? Because it probably should be, or, I mean, more likely folded into some part of Patreon. Because I think it's worth putting a few quid in, and that also keeps people engaged in it, because I'm essentially giving away or sending out hundreds of pounds worth of equipment, and you actually want people to be invested in that enough to want to be able to send it back and to take part in the idea of it. Do you see what I mean? Because with enough people with the right idea, it could be beautiful. But all you need is one sort of dickhead to go, I'm going to take it apart and like draw all over it or sell the bits or something. And it kind of all falls apart. So, you know, these are all considerations, but I'm very keen to make it happen. I mean, there's lots of things like I'd like to put a patch book in that has patch ideas. You could write in your own patch ideas and send them on to the next person. It's a beautiful, beautiful thing that we should have hundreds of these going out. But I think if we start with 6, then we can start with another 6 kind of going around. I think that's probably the best way to do it. So you can get 1 to 2 months use out of each stuff, because you're going to need to give people like a week's grace in order to send it on to the next one, if you see what I mean. It's complicated. It's just complicated. But on the other hand, it's really simple. You've just got to make it happen and let it go and just see what happens. That's the thing. Full of good ideas, me. It's just being able to make them happen. Am I going to Knobcom? No, never been to Knobcom. Is that Chicago, yeah? No, I'm unlikely to be able to afford a plane ticket to America. If somebody wanted to book me in, then sure. But no. Are the motion meters still available? Yeah, totally. I think so. I don't see why not. I'm of the understanding that we still sell them. I mean, Bafacco does. They're available through Bafacco and other shops. I do have a new module coming out in 2 weeks. 2 weeks, 17th of September, 2.5 weeks. So those are being sent to shops soon. So if you're finding that your supplier is out of stock, then with a bit of luck they will buy some more when they buy the new module. So there we go, that's exciting. And hopefully they'll get some more stock in then. They'll try to. I hope so. Otherwise just go direct to Bafacco and make a big fuss. So I'm going to buy 10, is what you say. Box of 10, please. Okay, so hopefully places like Perfect Circuit will pick some up, as I say, with the new module, which is out in a couple of weeks. Where are Pittsburgh Modular? I think they're in Romford, aren't they? Oh, interesting. What about tea? Are you making me a tea? I don't know. Yee? I think I've lost a thread here somewhere. People are talking about condiments. Oh, sorry. People on Twitch are having their own conversation. I use this thing called Restream Chat, which is mean I get all of the chat piped into the one app from all the different platforms. So if you're on YouTube, you're probably not privy to what Alcadroid and your opponent are talking about. Anyway, I will leave them to it. Have manufacturers do a private VCV module? What do you mean by that? I mean, they do. I mean, there's a Molten motion meter on VCV Rack, which is free. But you do need to pay a programmer. You know, they're not free to make. That's part of the problem of the Molten motion meter, is that it requires programming. And so that means you've got to get some geezer. I've got to pay someone a load of money, so it ends up being expensive to make. And every time that you want to tweak it or adjust it, it then costs a load more money again. With the new module, it's a lot simpler. I don't think there's too much in the way of coding going on. In fact, I don't think there's any. So yeah, a lot simpler, but still useful, and you'll see. My favourite delay module. Have I tried the sea legs? No, I haven't. It does look really nice because I like a good delay. Now I get the most fun out of. Oh, where's it gone? The black stereo delay from Erica Synths. I like that a lot. I also like. Also like the Vino delay. This one here. No, Vino Echo it's called. Close. Which is pretty good. I don't fully understand it all the time. I kind of forget what the bits do, which can be slightly frustrating. But it's quite easy to get interesting things going on, which is why I like it. The Erica Synths one is just really simple, and you just turn the knob and stuff happens, and I appreciate that a great deal. Sometimes delays are far too complicated. Excuse me. And that I find that can be very annoying. So I don't just you just turn on a delay and you want it to just do a delay. You just want an echo. Don't want to be messing about the whole time. But yes, the sea legs one looks really, really interesting. There was what was that other thing? Another thing, talking of sea legs, another one that gave you this. Was that a modulator? I don't remember now. Anyway, but I do like a delay. Simple delays are best. I do find that ones in Eurorack tend to be slightly odd and not always as easy. Just want to dial in and get it to do repeats quite simply. I don't know why that has to be difficult. Non-for-profit organisation Co-op. I don't make any profit, mate. I mean, even a not-for-profit organisation has to put food on the table, doesn't it? Yeah, I don't have any shareholders. Then the real better module gets promoted. And peasants like me can get involved. I'm still not following you. Are you talking about lending stuff out? Okay. Maybe. Not sure I'm seeing the vision with that particularly. I mean, it solves the postage problem, but it doesn't solve the I'd like to play with modular problem, I would say. Postage would cost a lot. Well, maybe. I mean, all of that, what do you call it? That auction that I had. I auctioned off a bunch of stuff a little while ago, and everything I sent out, locally within the UK, because I don't think it would be feasible to do this with people all over the world. A little bit of Europe maybe, but even that's complicated these days, obviously. But certainly within the UK, nothing costs more than £5 just to send it via Every for a couple of days delivery. So it doesn't have to be expensive. I mean, unless of course you think a £5 is expensive, which it could be seen as being. But I don't think that's the end of the world. You can buy the postage online, slap it on. I mean, again, of my idea of this all being free and accessible, I thought I would include postage things in there. But that was, I mean, I think I first came up with this idea when I was just rolling in cash, thinking, what can I do? But that's not the case at the moment. Hey, I don't want to keep going on about it. Run a class teaching the ins and outs of Euro and offer the library as a cool extra. Yeah? Yeah, I mean, doing classes is an idea. I think the difficulty. I think Sarah Bell Reid and other people like that do those sorts of things, and I think essentially they use VTV Rack. I mean, that's the thing that makes the most sense. Yeah, possibly. I've kind of lost my faith in in the internet. Is that the thing to say? In what I'm being told often, because I imagine at one time I certainly thought it'd be easy to create an app into which you pour your videos and your instruction, and people buy the app or subscribe to the app, and you make millions and that kind of thing. That seemed to be a thing that can work. But I've had a few experiences recently that makes me think it's all just a scam, and I'm not sure that that these apps will actually do anything or work for you, or whether you make any money out of that, and it actually all just goes back to somebody else. And how you actually make any of that happen, or through these websites that offer training, I don't know. Everything just seems to be full of catches and full of traps, and it makes the whole researching it and trying to do it correctly quite exhausting, I find. I mean, if anyone's out there who's had a good experience with putting together those sorts of things, I would be interested in hearing about it. But it just kind of feels like TuneCore all over again, where you end up paying more money than you ever got. Do you know what I mean? For something which appears to be a really good product, it ends up just costing you a fortune. So I don't know. And also, do I have the enthusiasm to teach something in VCV Rack, whereas I'd much rather have my hands on something, because that is far more interesting. I can enthuse and be passionate about those sorts of things far more than I can a piece of software. And then, there's the time required in putting all that together. Everything requires time. Everything. How do you get out of this this sort of this spiral? I don't know. Keep trying though. Keep trying. I mean, a couple of ideas. Get rich quick ideas, right? The first one, as I've talked about this a few times before, is to remaster my last album from like a decade ago. Through the tape machine. Turn the tape machine on and actually remaster it through the tape, because that'll be an interesting process. Make a video on it, and then there's an album which millions of people will want to buy, rebuy, and make a mint that way. That's one thing. Another thing I'm thinking of doing is putting together a sampled instrument. We're talking about this with Paulie Bow, and it's a great idea, and it's something that I'd like to look at and do, and again document in some way. And I think because of the range of sound sources that I get coming in and out of this place, it would be really cool if every time something comes in, I take a few samples, even if it's only a few sounds, and make those available through this through my own virtual instrument, which you can do with something like, what's it called, the Decent Sampler or something. I can't remember. I've got it all written down somewhere. But there is like an open source sampling front end with which you can build instruments in. And I think that would be good. And it's the sort of thing that would be great to put onto Patreon, that could be part of it's a serious lack of rewards for my poor old patrons. It would be good to give them something. So that would be something. And also that would encourage more patrons, or people could just buy it straight away as an instrument. And it's something which hopefully would expand and evolve and get better and better over time as I get better at creating the content for it and provide more and more. So I think that's a great, good, solid idea that I want to put a bit of time into. So and those two things could potentially increase revenue, which is good. So that's a couple of things, and neither of those require any investment other than do they? And other than my time. And although I'm time poor, I'm a grown up and can make my own decisions on what I put my time into, but it doesn't require any actual investment outside of that particularly. So those are cool things. I'd like to do that. Would like to do that. Yeah, could do the auctions more often with things. What my thoughts on what? What? Synchrotron, what did you ask? Biscuits? No. A boat? Sea legs. Oh, right. Yeah, yeah. Sea legs. Yes. Yeah. I mean, I know that that Milo Melodies really likes his. I thought it was a really interesting, a good spin on delay. You know, because you want it just to do the thing to start with, but then if you can do interesting things with it, like there's that other one from oh from OS. I can't remember. Oh no, I don't remember. Anyway, 8 sliders. Each one was something to do with a tap. Oh, I don't know. Give us a clue about the new module. No, it has. I mean, it's been knocking around. Oh, just checking. People have spotted it because it takes forever. It takes forever to produce a new module. It takes about 18 months. So it's been knocking around for ages. Because I forget to take it out of things. So no, I'm not going to give you any more of a clue than that. But it's cool. It's cool. And I've got to put together some interesting videos and talk about that kind of thing. We'll have a whole premiere party or something. It's cool. It's useful, I think. I believe it is. Certainly when I thought it up, I thought it was useful. And since having it back, having it finished, it does a lot more than I thought, which is always good. And you go, right, oh, I can actually do this. That's quite interesting. Because you desperately want it to actually be interesting. It's like, oh, well, this is a bit kind of rubbish once you've gone through all the trouble of putting it together. It's like, it's not what you want. That is not what you want. So, yeah, I'm quite pleased with it. And it'll be fun, you know. It's interesting. Sort of me and DivKid talk about it at times. And he's hopefully going to be good enough to do a video on it, which is great. And I'm going to be doing a build video on his little thing called Trace, if you saw that recently. It's really interesting sort of producing these kind of utility, interesting idea modules, which is kind of what we're doing. DivKid's been a bit more prolific than I have to say. But it doesn't mean I don't have other ideas. But it's interesting to do these things which are kind of little problem solvers. You know, wouldn't it be nice if, which is not always what I think. I tend to think that manufacturer, the way that modular manufacturers go is they first of all they do a mulch, and then perhaps a mixer module, and then they go nuts, and then you get this massively complex thing that speeds up time, or or creates a portal or something, and that's great. Because that's their vision, but sometimes it means that they miss out on. There's a lot of range between that first mulch and that attenuverter, and then the massive thing that they've put out. So there's a lot of space in there for people like me and Ben to think, oh yeah, it'd be really good if I could just do this. That would be cool. Does such a thing exist? No. Although the other thing is that nearly everything does exist. It's just that you don't discover it or can't find it until you've already done all the prototyping. And you go, oh, no, it already exists. Damn it. Which is not entirely true with my new module. But that certainly is a danger. But again, I mean, that doesn't really matter. I mean, look at how many VCOs there are, how many filters there are. It doesn't matter whether they're similar or the same or not, because everyone has their own take on it. Don't you think? Assuming that you do have your own take on it and you're not just copying somebody else, which is what tends to happen. We all tend to have our own take on things, which is cool. Wow, that's some crazy emoticons there. Drop your Twitch URL, please. I don't know what it is. Do I know what that is? When's the last time I went on Twitch? Hang on, let me have a look. Twitch. See, it doesn't even come up in my... Whatney flips. Oh no, it doesn't know who I am. Oh no, I don't know who that is. Sign up, log in, let me see. Oh, I've got to think of my username. I don't even know what that is. Hang on a minute. I think if you search for Molten Modular, one word, you'll find me, because it's now asking me all sorts of security questions that I can't remember. So, If you want to check out Twitch, do I have that? Do I have that listed anywhere? I don't even know. But my username is Molten Modular, all one word, so it must be something under that. Anyway, go fill your boots. Where am I? What about making up? Have I? Oh, I'm way behind on the chat. Sorry, I will skip. I'll try to. I don't want to miss anybody's, burning questions. We're making up a small modular rig so you can do something interesting with. Yeah, and charge the renter the cost of the units, which is then returned to them when the rig comes back. Yeah, Steve, that is a consideration. It's just a lot of faff, and I don't like the idea of holding on to people's money. I don't know that I would be organised enough to do that. And then, of course, it's again a massive barrier to entry because you're asking for people to give you 500 quid to send them something. As a deposit, it's like it becomes taking a deposit on something, taking a security deposit on something. And while that makes sense and is absolutely how the world works, you rent something, you give a deposit and you get your deposit back when you've returned it in good condition. It just makes it so unreachable for so many people, I think, that I don't want to do that. But, I'm absolutely opening myself up to the possibility of things being stolen, that kind of thing. But I just want to have more faith in the community than that. I want to assume that everyone is on board with being relaxed and groovy, and it's like, hey, here's some stuff, great, I'll send it on. Oh, another one, great, I'll send it on. That's just how life needs to be, doesn't it? I think once you go down the rental road, you've got to start flight casing stuff, you've got to start charging huge amounts of money. It becomes something else, and everything's going to have to work. It can't be full of dodgy modules that I've built, Got to keep it simple. So your opponent over in Twitch says that the Nautilus is a nice delay. I am thinking about the OAM time machine. Thank you, Analog Assailant. Yes, that's exactly what I was thinking of. The Nautilus. See, I've got a Nautilus. Not there. I've got... See, I've done some great videos on qubit products. The Data Bender in particular. The Surface. But then it all just started to go a bit wrong. I got the blender, is it called? And I couldn't work it out. In fact, I ended up selling it, I think, in the auction. I couldn't wrap my head around it. Could not do it. Then the Nautilus arrived, and I'm going, I don't understand this at all. I cannot work it out. Then the Mojave arrived. Oh my goodness, I don't understand this either. Occasionally I can get something interesting out of it, but mostly not. Mostly not. Data Bender, yeah, nearly every time I get something fantastic coming out of that. These other two, I can't work it out. Can't work it out. So they've stopped sending me modules, which I don't blame them, because I'm unable to do a video on something that I don't understand. That just seems like a waste of time. So they require time. Unfortunately, I probably have half a dozen modules, great, proper posh modules, which I wasn't able to gel with when I first used them. And so I've had to put them to one side and get on with other stuff. And now they've become really old and long in the tooth. So like the Mojave and the Nautilus, but also the Trinity from ModBap. Although I think that's just laziness. The Chord Pilot from Modular. I have another Modular one actually, which I was going to look at today, which maybe we'll do that in a minute. But there's other bits and pieces that turn up that I don't gel with, and so need more time. But I'm just at the moment a bit too busy, you know. But I've been busy for some things for a long, long time. It's terrible. But I love the idea that the Nautilus is a good delay, because I was not feeling it. I could not understand what all the knobs did, you know. But I will do. I mean, it's just a matter of reading the manual and looking at things and spending a bit of time. Vino Echo, on the other hand, you know, whoop, 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 whoop. Yeah, there's stuff going on. Great. So in effect, you're beta testing the module with a VCV-based musician exchange program. Okay. It all sounds really great. Right, so I'm trying to catch up a little bit. Workshops? I can't teach anybody anything. It's a minefield. Yeah, building up Patreon a lot more. Yeah, definitely. It's this conundrum, right? Because my output is not prolific, particularly, because it takes time to do the things that I do. I don't have a lot of spare stuff to give patrons, and there's this relationship. What's the point of Patreon? What's, you know, these are interesting questions. So the basic point, or the basic role of Patreon, has to be that somebody appreciates what I do. You know, just talk about this at a basic level, just as transparently and honestly as possible. Somebody likes what I do and appreciates the amount of effort that goes into doing a thing, and is happy to give me a couple of quid, like buying a magazine subscription, in order to support me in doing that. That is the basic transaction. They support me in the content that I'm making, and that is certainly helpful, and it enables me to keep on going, keep on pushing through on making more videos, because I have people who are supporting me with the idea that I should be doing that. And so that obligation is a good positive force in helping me produce more videos. You know, that's a good transaction. But I mean, and I do this, I mean, I'm a patron of half a dozen other people, you know, that I send a couple of quid to, similarly in the community, because I think that's good. I think it's a good way to behave. I'm not expecting anything back. I'm just sending them a couple of quid every month, so that they also have an income. I'm very much believing in sharing that sort of stuff around. So, however, the other side of Patreon is that many people are able to stuff Patreon full of extras and freebies and you know, unreleased tracks and new stuff and bonuses and all that kind of thing, which is great, and I'm into the idea of that, except that I don't want, if a patron is giving me money in order to make content, I need to be making that content. If I barely have the time to be making that content, there's no way I'm going to have more time to make content exclusively for patrons, if you see what I mean. And that's just, I'm just being completely honest about it. I'm not trying to say whether that's right or wrong. Of course, my patrons should have everything in the world. You know, it's a fantastic thing that they're there, that this platform exists, that they're able to do it in that way, and I'm immensely grateful. But I have to be able to, first and foremost, do the thing that they are supporting me to do. And anything more than that would be great if I had that space. So, like I said, thinking about, I mean, because there's this thing where someone on one of your patrons are also fans. So when I'm thinking about re-releasing this album mastered on tape, and and that's interesting, it would say, oh, I should give it to my patrons for free in reward for them being a patron. But then on the other hand, my patrons are exactly the sort of people who would be happy to buy it, off Bandcamp if I produced it. So why would I give that away when they are the people most likely to buy it? Do you see what I mean? And I don't mean that in I want their money, I want more of their money. It's just, buying something, being a fan of someone and buying their stuff is part of that exchange. It's part of that relationship that you have with people, and that's okay. That's a positive thing. So I find myself in this situation where I would love to give my patrons more stuff. I mean, there are a few bits of music up there. You get an ad-free version of all the videos. I mean, that's not quite that extraordinary, but heck, it's something. And I did put some stuff up. I seem to remember. So there are things, and there is the Discord, and there is that potential of direct communication with me in ways that other people don't have. All of that is there. The Discord server is, it's me and Steve, isn't it? Steve most of the time. But it's okay. It's there, and people can use it if they wish. It's not a bother. What am I saying? I don't remember. So yeah, there is more I could do with Patreon, absolutely. And I think this idea of the synth library, or sending, having a synth club cycle of stuff involved in the Patreon, I think that would be interesting. I would love to have the time to produce some exclusive content for that. I don't know. I'm always open to ideas from patrons, but most of them are quite happily just doing their thing, So yeah, it's something which is which occupies a part of my mind, which I think about, and I would endeavour to reward people with something or other at some point, because it is a way of, it is a way of growing your income stream. I don't know. I'm rubbish at this business, Lark. Don't ever go into business with me. Oh my goodness. Oh, the local library ran a great modular session. That's great. Yeah, giving modules away is really hard. It's like with raffles and stuff. I mean, years ago, I gave away a Surface Pro 4, I think it was. Microsoft gave it to me, and we decided to do this thing. And so I went through quite a lot of difficulty trying to formulate how you do a fair raffle, and it bogged me down. Random number generators to make sure it's all in place, and all this sort of thing, and you do it through Facebook signups and Twitter signups. It was a social media sign up kind of thing. And when you got to the end and you sort of spreadsheeted all of the people, it dawned on you very, very quickly that 80% of these signups were bots. They were all just bots. None of them existed. I mean, I had a whole stack of prizes, the top one being the Surface. I had these other prizes, and most of them never got claimed because the people who won didn't exist. So even once I'd filtered out all the people who I thought were bots, I still had so many in there that it was almost impossible. Obviously, there's nothing to do with Patreon. That's a completely different thing. But I did end up, giving the Surface away to a guy who didn't really want it. And that's, again, is the other thing. If people see, it's a competition, it's a freebie, and people sign up or like a post and then end up winning and have no real interest in it. Because what you want from some kind of raffle or competition, you want the person who wins the prize to really, really need it. You want to give it to someone fantastic. And how do I judge that? If I have a module to give to somebody, how do I judge who I give that to? Yeah, you should do that, Ian. You absolutely should do that. Put it through your Porter Studio. Is that interesting? I don't know. Try it. See if that's interesting. Yeah, yeah. I genuinely think the sample library thing is good. You know, other people do it. Venus Theory, for instance, uses this decent sampler, I think it's called, and he makes a lot of stuff. But I mean, he's a class act. He does fantastic stuff. I can't ever pretend to be anything like that. But you know, once I've done a little bit of tweaking and branding and stuff to the interface, and got the hang of how you generate the library and how all that works, then it's absolutely something which could be done and is useful. Is useful for myself and my own work, let alone something to give away. I think I think it's a good idea. It's like, you know, the Plasma Voice, for instance, the Game Changer Audio Plasma Voice. It has a really unique sound to it, and to take a bunch of samples of that, I think would be brilliant. And funnily enough, the Disting EX can kind of do that automatically. No, it does it over MIDI. Can it do it in any other way? I don't know. Automation would be useful, but I'm sure people have thought about this, and information is out there on how you would automate sample making as much as possible. You know, how far apart do you do the notes? Do you do multiple levels of velocity? Do you do round robins? Do you do, you know, what do you do? How do you do that? You know, I think I will start basic and hopefully get better over time. And it would be a good habit to get into, I think. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, sorry, I'm catching up. Cool, Flip. Mate, I am about 15 minutes behind in the chat, all right? Just so you know. But I find the chat the most interesting thing. So I apologise. I will keep coming back up. Still talking about the sea legs. Yeah, no, so I know you. I know. I know you're Andy. Yes. Yes, you are. Yes. That's funny. I'm never going to remember. But that is awesome. You're not using the Vesa stand for the Bafako rack anymore? Yeah, flipping am. What the heck is that? What is this? If it's not on a Vesa stand. What are you talking about? Huh? Huh? What are you talking about? No, I totally am. All right, sorry. I don't mean to be silent. Hey, Robert. Thanks for that. That's much appreciated. Lovely man. What is going on? Treat yourself to sea legs. Yeah, all right. All right. That's IntelliGel, isn't it? I don't think I've done anything with IntelliGel. I should. Okay, well, I will endeavour to look at the Nautilus. I mean to, absolutely. It's on my list of things to look at. Yeah. Interviews with the creator of the module of things you don't understand. Yes. Yes and no, I would say. Because Um, Manufacturers are very, very close to their modules, and so sometimes it can be difficult, because if you're not understanding them, they can get quite frustrated with you. Because it's their baby and they know it inside out, and they absolutely know how this thing works, and they can't believe that someone wouldn't be able to understand it or enjoy using it. So there is a, excuse me, you have to be a little bit careful. One has to be a little bit careful with how you interact with modules and manufacturers, because because it's not always pretty, it's not always great. And while everyone is lovely for the most part and trying to be lovely, if you're trying to work through a module that you don't quite understand, it can create quite a difficult situation. And so you just have to be a little bit cautious with that. Everyone just needs to relax a little bit. So, but ideally, and also, it's easy to jump to a conclusion that you don't understand something when actually you just need to spend more time on it. But yeah, there is always scope to do an interview with a manufacturer. But again, all these things take time and organisation, and it's a good idea. It's a good idea. It takes a little bit of myself to work up to the idea of doing live streams with people, interviews with people. You'll probably be surprised about how anxious I get about those sorts of things. There was a time when I seemed to find it, when I did a lot of it, over COVID and stuff, but it was terrifying every time, and I'm not that keen to put myself in terrifying situations. I mean, I do it, I guess, with Sonic State, when I appear on there. But no, it is terror. Just trying to think. No, but it's a much friendlier situation, and it is. It's a good, friendly situation, but it's still flipping nerve-wracking. You're putting yourself out there in a situation where people might ask you questions about stuff you really don't have any idea about. So yeah. Don't know what I'm talking about now. Yeah, there's lots of ways to think about things. You teach how to make a module, then how to fit it in a chain, what you can do with it next week, bring it back or buy it. Okay, interesting. Jeff, well, funnily enough, I have to refer back to that video as well, because I forget how to make it work. I'm with a stochastic instruments generator. I'm completely happy with a particular level of access to it. It does a thing. I know how to make it do that thing, and that makes me happy. There are multiple levels to it that I still can't remember. That I'm more or less happy with the fact that I don't know how to get to them anymore, because it does enough. Do you know what I mean? Fashion advice, yeah, okay, yeah, that can work. Department of Health and Social Security. How old are you? Have you fallen through a time warp? It must have been 30 years since it was called the DHSS. Surely. Back when I was on the dole. Oh, have I got to the bottom? No, I haven't. Still, where are we now? I'm still 15 minutes behind. Flipping heck. Get YouTube and sponsors. Yeah. I am on YouTube. Sponsors. Don't like sponsors. Yeah. Dots, no worries. You've been volunteered, Nikki, to do the All-Star patch off at Synth East in February, just in case you didn't know. So yeah, let's talk about that. That might be interesting. But we'll talk about it anyway. Just throwing that out there. Uh, it's gone a bit weird. What? Okay. Skipping a little bit. Uh, yeah, so Raffles again. Yeah, just to mention, we also thought about doing Raffles at Synth East originally because I remember there being a raffle at uh, Modular Meets in Leeds that DivKid did a few years ago. But then it just got weird because it turns into being a bit of a tax problem and how it's declared and what the money's for, where your prizes are coming from. Some people are sort of really happy to donate a prize, but then are you actually raising money for anything, or is it just for yourself? And what's the point of that again? And it just all gets a bit weird. So I think the consensus, I was talking to DivKid about this as well, is that actually doing a raffle is more trouble than it's worth, because there's a lot of weirdness and paperwork and stuff involved when you're more than a village fete, if you know what I mean. So it's like, oh right, no, I hadn't thought about that, and again, some manufacturers go, why am I giving you a free module for a raffle? I mean, is it in aid of charity? No, it's in aid of me. Right, why am I doing that again? Celax was half an hour ago. Yeah, I'm sorry, everyone. It's a weird conversation. All right, I'm coming through now. Drill a hole, somebody says. Lack of space. Always a student. Oh, I'm at the bottom. Flip. Register a charity. Yeah. Do a tombola. Nikki, great. Yeah, well, I say we'll talk about it. That might be fun. Yeah. Well, the amount I don't know about UK tax laws. I didn't drink that anywhere near as fast as I thought I would. So look, I had a couple of things I just wanted to try. Why don't we do that? Because it's it's been really nice just talking, even though I've been a bit behind the curve, but that's been lovely. So I don't remember. I wanted to, because Octone, Glasgow, Glasgow Thingany Flip, have sent me another Octone. I've got them in 2 different places now. And I wanted to have a go at how they work together. While I'm doing that, I wanted to run the Castor and Pollux. This is funny, right? It's funny how at least I find I ebb and flow with different modules. It's like the Castor and Pollux 2, which I bought as soon as it came out, because I had the original one and really liked it, and then sort of fell out of love with it, and then the second one came out, I thought, oh, but that's even better, so I'll grab hold of that. Excuse me. Play for it a bit and then didn't like it again. Now I love it. I'm back to it and I absolutely love it. So what was I thinking before? What was I getting wrong about it? I don't know. Anyway. Excuse me, that flipping beer's making me burp. So Let's pull that out of there. So I need to put two together. Now I had a thing. Let me go a little bit overhead like that. Look, and it's me too. Look, I'm so clever at this now. Oh, cheers, Andy. Much appreciated. So I'm trying to blow myself up. I should probably turn this bit off. Look. So this, now there was a thing, this, right. So it has to connect to itself, doesn't it? With one of these. It's got to have a link. Which way up does a link go? I mean, I guess it's just got to be the same, isn't it? That's what's important. Should I look this up? Does anybody know? Anyway, I was talking about, things suddenly becoming better. It's like, I've got this replicant VCF here from, I can't remember. But, because they don't have their name written on the front. Why don't you do that? Isn't it on this one? No, is it on the back? Oh, it is, but in too small a right, and I can't read that. Is it just 3 lines modular? Oh, I can't remember, my brain. Anyway, I've got this lovely replicant VCF. I did not like it because it's based on the CS80, right? And I thought, that's going to be great. And I'll compare it to the Deccar's voice, all that kind of thing. I play with it for a good while and go, I don't like this at all. It doesn't do, it's not what I thought. It doesn't do a thing. Total lack of resonance. What's all this about? Now I love it. Now it's like, this is fantastic. And how did that happen? What was I doing wrong the first time to make it so interesting now? So, all right, I've got 2 of these here, right? So I reckon if I'm linking these 2 together, all that matters is it's the same way up. I don't know. Am I going to blow these up? No, I mean it's a data link, isn't it? So it really shouldn't matter. So I'm going to do that to this. Same way up. Bound to be. Okay. I'm going to need power on both. That's a little bit easier. I wish every company would do shrouds on their power sockets, because it would just make my life easier. I know they do the big white lines and stuff like that, but it's so easy to get it wrong. So what should happen is that this should now be a 16-step sequencer. Boom! Yeah, that ain't, is it? So there must be a mode. I like how they're just slightly out from each other. That's fascinating. So is there a mode that's going to make that happen? That's still going round. Oh, rats. Am I going to have a look at the manual? That's really boring. But there must be... Maybe it's nothing to do with the link. Do I hold re-trigger on both? Arse. Right, if somebody wouldn't mind looking up how you get 2 octones to work together, that'd be great. Just run some patches. Maybe the link is the wrong way around, but it's the same way around. Do you know what I mean? I'm going to have to take this. All right, well, somebody's looking that up for me. God bless you. I've got this has just come through. The Echo Cinematic from Modular. I thought I'd plug that in. So that looks like fun. It's not a hell of a time. We try to do things on the fly in this place. No prep, no preparation. fact, I haven't actually yet got sound coming out. So, I mean, I still haven't solved that problem. I do have another beer. Yeah, Modular's great. I'd like to do a bit more justice on... I've got two of their modules I haven't done videos on. One is the chord pilot, because it's it's like, what is it doing? And the other is the piano verb. But I don't think my piano verb is working right. So I think I need to... Is it called piano verb? It's called piano something. So I think I need to reflash it or something. Because I keep seeing demo videos where they go, oh yeah, look at all this stuff you can do in it. And I'm going, well, mine doesn't do any of that. Mine has like one sound. So it definitely needs a thing. Do I have a spare? A spare? There we go. Oh look, I thought that was just gonna. I thought it was just gonna pop in there. It doesn't quite, but let's pull these across. The cable needs to be flipped on one side. Yeah, I was going to do this quickly, right? So, all right, let me turn that off. Let me flip the cable on one side. Oh, look at that, look at that, look at that. Oh, flipping heck. Yeah, that was it. That did it. Right, I just need to see if I can find a little couple of something to tie it into. You're gonna let me get in there. Just to give it a little bit of solidity. Yeah, no, that's gone away. Let's give myself one there and one down here. I've always been a fan of sliding nuts. Honestly, no, I have always been a fan of them. But there are times when they can be a pain. See, that's perfect now. That's perfect. That's perfect. This one, not so much. That's gone over there. Come back. Okay, Echo Cinematic. Nice wide. Nice wide nice wide holes. What am I talking about? You know, where you put your screws through, right? I appreciate a nice wide hole rather than these circular ones. I'd like to have something better than that. Right, so let's plug in the output of the Echo Cinematic. I'm going to bypass the Milky Way for the moment. Now, I couldn't get this to work, so I'm going to... Can I plug that in over there? Is that going to reach? And I'll just do this bit. I'll just play with this rather than anything else. There's a bit of a stretch in it. Come on, give us some slack. Is that all right? Is that in the way? A little bit. You can see all right. Is everyone all right? Now, let's get some sound. This is the point at which everything just goes really loud because I forget, okay, that's down. Let me just take an output or something. Is that an out? See, I don't remember. I think that's, no, that's the thing. That's the other thing. So this is the thing. Now let's put that thing through that thing, and then I'll take the output of that and I'll stick that into here. That's some possibility of getting lines on there. So why am I not getting it over there? Because it ain't plugged in. Right, 1 minute. You are watching a genius at work. That's not a good sign. There's something underneath the noise. Where's the noise coming from? Interesting. Just a rethink. That is coming through. Why is it not coming out of there? What have I done? What have I done? What have I done? Or is this just because it's... Maybe it's... Why? I don't understand why it's suddenly lost and then slapped. Oddly lovely. Well, I never did. So, well, that was a bit unexpected. I wasn't expecting the Echo Cinematic to be quite so awesome immediately. It was really. I mean, I don't know how you experienced it, but it was immensely fun to start with, where you just had this massive, weird sort of droney sound going on, and I'm thinking to myself, I have no idea what's making that, and sort of exploring, and then turning a few knobs on the Echo Cinematic, and it sort of bringing itself back into clarity. That was fascinating. It's like, oh right, there's something weird. It was like full up on feedback and full up on delay, so it was just kind of essentially self-resonating. So once I'd pulled a bit of that out, I started to find the tune from the Castor and Pollux. And as I say, this combination of the Castor and Pollux... Oh, excuse me again. Let me show you the overhead again. The Castor and Pollux, you can't quite see, which is just there. There you go, that's the Molten shot. So this thing here, which never quite makes the right sound until I hit this button a few times, and then I somehow stumble upon the right mode, and then these two knobs really work well together. So there's some kind of sync mode in there, which I can't seem to get in my head quite. But when I found it, and then those two work, it's just an incredible thing. This paired with the Replicant VCF, this thing here, is just brilliant. I mean, this is like the tamest filter in the world, so it seems. Sometimes with other oscillators, with the Castor and Pollux, it just has this life to it, which is amazing. I mean, this is full up resonance the whole time. Now, that's what I meant about it not having a whole lot of resonance. But that's the CS80. It doesn't have doesn't have that howling resonance that we've come to know. Do you know what I mean? So it's really quite tame, but with the right source going through it, it sounds just lovely, lovely, lovely. So this too, once I've got the wire around the right way, that seems obvious and easy, and then I've got 16 steps to play with. And I really like this as a sequencer anyway, just because it's simple, it doesn't feel linear, although it essentially is. And it just has some nice accessible features, the ability to turn off steps really easily, and the fact that I've now got 16 steps is nice, and I believe I can save patterns now as well if I look in the manual hard enough. But just on a surface level, 2 is certainly that little bit more interesting than 1. And then, heck, the Echo Cinematic. I wasn't expecting the reverb to sound that nice, I have to say. Some interesting delay stuff going on. This was, I mean, evidently it says it's an EQ, but it's essentially a filter. And the resonance on that was giving us these fabulously chirpy sounds. But I'm not entirely sure what I'm doing with that, what's making the thing happen. But obviously it just requires a little bit of investigation. But wow, did that sound really, really nice. Interesting. Good. I think that's probably enough. What time are we on there? Yeah, it's 10:30. That's more than enough. More than enough. But yeah, that to me sounded pretty ace. I mean, I wasn't doing anything. I just turned a few things and plugged a few things together. That's the beauty of modular. So it doesn't have to be about you. It's the machine is quite capable of making a fantastic sound. All you got to do is plug a few bits together. Fantastic. Fiddled around with a little bit of drums at the end that almost made the whole thing terrible, but held it together there. Used a bit of Trinity, which you can't see, and the EXO kick drum. I used Trinity for the snare and the hi-hats, trying to remember how to access the different bits, make the things work. So I must do a review of that. I have to nail it. So yeah, that was that. So that was fun. Great. So, did I miss anything while you were talking? Yeah, again, delay, isn't it? Overnight motorway driving music. Yeah, maybe. There was definitely 16 steps. I'm pretty sure, Jeff. But hey, I mean, it was running fast, so who can say? But, you know, the lights are going around in that sort of way. Somebody having an argument with a chatbot? Sorry about that. I mean, you know, I don't. If somebody wanted to be a moderator, I'm sure that would be fine. I mean, you know, I can't be bothered most of the time. If I see them, then that's great. I'm sorry if someone's been a pain. I just wasn't noticing. All right, just gonna skip back through. Needs more D-beam or cowbell. What's the clock source? I brought a clock in from Pamela's Pro Workout, and again a module I really should do a review of sometime. I think I mean, it's one of those modules that I get out of it enough. Yeah, there's enough in there that I can remember how to use that's useful. Mostly clocks, and I use a lot of the Euclidean mode where you, I mean, you can set all sorts of things in it. I just tend to set 16 steps and then put not 16 triggers within it, so it gives it a rhythm. I don't know how clever that is. That's what I tend to do. Sometimes shave off a bit of the probability just to make it drop the odd note. That's about it. It tends to run clocks. I did turn the steps down to 5 at one point. Maybe that was it. No, echoes are never just too much. Versatile first synth, Minilog. Yes, absolutely. Minilog's a great synth. Totally. Yes, absolutely. Versatility is the key. Cool, Bart. Cool. Well, I think we've got to the bottom of that. I think that's probably enough. I mean, feeling inclined. I'm just no, I'm too tired. I think I can stay up all night. It does have a great, as somebody said, Autobahn or Tangerine Dream feel, I would dare to say. Beautiful. I didn't even have to look in the manual. Look at that. Excellent. They do good stuff. I mean, I like. Yeah, the packaging's good. You know, the card quality of this is good. You know, good layout, quick start guide, that kind of thing. But I fiddled and fudged my way through. That's pretty cool. It's got knob recording ability. But yeah, seem to plug in and work. Can't ask for more than that, can you? So yeah, that'll do. So good, right? I'll get on with it. So I'll try and making videos this week. That's the plan. So look out for my telepathy video. Look out for my plasma voice video, and possibly the best synths video is what I think I might do this week, which will be fun. That's like the great thing about these best of ones. I talked about this, I think, at the last live stream. I'm thinking of doing. So I do these best of articles, clickbaity articles, but I do them as well as I possibly can to make them actually useful and informative. I promise. I do them for careers in music, and I thought all the work I put into those, why don't I turn that into a video, because those could also be interesting. Although I'm finding that the thought process of making a video about the best synths, or I did the best free doors last month, is it occurs to me that I kind of have to justify myself far more when I'm doing a video, and that's slightly worrying. When you've written an article, there's no one's going to comment on it or argue with you about it, and so that's easy. Whereas doing it on a video, that's a little bit more, so I'm having to think about that a little bit. And of course, how the heck do you find these things? The best synth, please. How does that even work? But of course, that's something that I will discuss in my video. Shit, that's an enormous spider. Where are you from, fella? You don't look local. Cool, heck. He's coming right down my HDMI cable. What's your plan? Wow. Are you going to go first? Oh, heck. Now it's going back up again. That's weird. Oh, look, I don't want an entire web. It's all just going to fall apart as soon as I get up, you dipstick. Oh, I don't know. Don't have half a brain half the time. That's an interesting looking one, though. Where is... Don't look up is always the key with the shed. Don't look up, because it's a flipping, sanctuary for insects up in that ceiling of mine. They have entire civilizations rise and fall in my ceiling rafters, in my shed rafters. Anyway, get distracted. What was I talking about? Yeah. Because I follow, there's this person on, I don't know, Instagram or TikTok, it could be, I don't watch TikTok, but it gets ported to Instagram, you understand, that has these jumping spiders, and she does voices for them, and these tiny little spiders from somewhere on the other side of the planet, and it's just fantastic. Absolutely fantastic. So I've kind of gotten into spiders a little bit more after watching those, but heck, that was a weird encounter. Anyway, he's buggered off now. Good. Anyway, right. Anything else I had to say? No. Lots of thoughts about Synth East. I'll get to you back on that soon. 17th of September is the launch of my new module. I'll come back to you about that very soon. Do come and join us on Patreon. It's a fantastic place, even though I don't give you anything much for free, but there will be exciting things happening on there sometime in the next 10 years. I promise. So it's worth going along and having a look. So, hey, if that synth library thing comes along, then that would be brilliant. Sample library thing coming along, fantastic. New release of a new album. Woohoo, it's just all go. Crazy town. And just to reiterate, the thing I said in the Molten Music Monthly is that if you are a manufacturer of modular and synthesizers and stuff, do feel free to get in touch. Absolutely, get in touch if you'd like me to do something on it, either in a live stream or in a video all by itself. I can't promise to cover everything, so there is just not enough time. But if you send me something interesting, like the Harp of Darkness, for instance, I did a video on that recently, has absolutely no right to be done as quickly as it was, but it was just so great that I had to do a video on it, and if you have something that's so great, send it in. And you might find that it jumps the queue. You never know. You never know. Anyway, that'll do. Stop running on. Stop running on. Shaving foam. Scarves. And lavender. Will I record a new modular performance? I don't know. What I tend to... it's a good question. Fair question. Yes, I would like to do more of recording modular performances. Yes, definitely. Always looking to do that. That's part of why I push myself into EMOMs, is because when I go to an EMOM, it means creating a patch, something that I can play with for 15 minutes. I'll do the EMOM and then I'll do a recording of it here in the shed to stick up on YouTube. So yeah, I'd like to do that if I can. That's my process for that. But I am also looking into something I haven't mentioned, I don't think yet, is doing... It's kind of like an ambient music channel. The idea is, I mean, I know sadly, I have spiritual elements to myself that I need to feed. And one of the things that I felt I'd like to do is some kind of sort of modular synth church thing, which could mean anything you want it to mean. But my music name, my recording name is Molten Meditation, and I've done lots of meditative and ambient stuff and worship related stuff on that channel. It's a very, very small, tiny channel, but I've released stuff under that name. And I was thinking that I would like to do sort of just ambient improvised jams just on that channel, with the idea of it being a space where you could think about things, and I'd throw up a few things and say, hey, let's think about this, you know, let's think about famine, and then do a thing, you know, that sort of idea, but you know, authentically, not flippantly. So I'm looking to do that. But yeah, as I said, I keep on saying many times, lots of great ideas in my head of things to do, I'm lacking the bandwidth to actually make them happen, but I'll do my best. Yeah, do my best to keep at it, because I love it and I want to keep doing these fabulous things for fabulous people in a fabulous way. That's the plan. Good. Devotional, non-denominational. Yeah. Along those sorts of lines, definitely, yeah. Totally inclusive and open to alls. Very much. Oil. What? Contact cleaner. Yeah, well, I see it was what's his name? It was Spurgeon who said that when he meditates, his heart becomes like molten lead, and that's absolutely where that came from. So it's the idea that through meditation, your heart can become this liquid, boiling over in a sense of mindfulness and spiritual depth, and in worship and in joy and in love, all those sorts of things. That's where that comes from. So I know what you mean about it being an oxymoron, but actually the two are deeply connected by some old theologian. And on that note, hey, if Behringer want to send me an RS9, they're welcome to, but I don't imagine they don't really do that. You know, they don't believe in us YouTubers. That's a good idea. Yes, I could become a non-profit religion and then wouldn't have to pay tax. See, that's a good idea. Have I thought about the Sonicware Liven? Sorry, Ken. I am trying to go. Yeah, I mean, I've reviewed a couple of, I think, of the Liven, Sonicware Liven things. They don't thrill me. They don't fill me with joy. I find the interface quite clunky. I appreciate that they are packed full of features, you know, quite awesome at times. But it's a bit like Electron stuff. I don't really gel with the interface that well. So, you know, I wouldn't use one out of choice. I have one sitting around somewhere. So yeah, anyway, good. No more questions, please. Otherwise I'll never get out of here. Thanks for all your time, much appreciated. And as I say, I'll keep updated on what I'm doing. In the meantime, go and make those tunes of yours. Now there's a button here somewhere, which is, I might have to experiment. Is it that one? I don't know what that is. I can't see it. Should we just try it? Yay, that's the one! Thanks everyone!